Dalice Rose McSeveney, talking about respect. All right. So when you think about respect, Dalice, what comes up for you with that word?
It's something I think as a society we've kind of lost touch with.
Okay.
It's become more evident in the last couple of years, and there's a whole heap that I could go into with that, but it's
Please do.
I don't think it's only in the last couple of years, but it has exploded, if you like, in the last couple of years, and some of that's also because we've become a more divided society, and that's because of people's strong opposing views,
Right.
And I'm okay with people having different views. We need different views. At the end of the day, if we're going to progress, we can't all think the same way. That would be extraordinarily boring.
Yeah.
But for me, respect comes to respecting each other and understanding that that person doesn't need to think the same way that I do. Right. I don't even need to necessarily understand your thought pattern or where you're coming from. But if I acknowledge the fact that it is real for you, then I'm showing you respect.
Yes.
That thought pattern is real for you.
Yeah.
And I just observed that a lot of that is missing. And when I counsel or coach people, it tends to be a focus and mentoring, in fact, actually more so in the mentoring side, to be fair, of helping people just stop, pause, and acknowledge that other person may be coming from a different angle than what you are interpreting.
And that's okay.
It's completely okay. And then it starts you from a different angle, like you come into that conversation with being less combative, and therefore you are actually and that's where the word kindness comes, right? It's
for sure.
where you actually are being kind to the other person and respecting them.
And it's a developmental skill to be able to hold two opposing ideas at the same time. That's a thing. So
it is, and that's why I like to help people understand that you do not need to understand what the other person is thinking or why.
Right. Absolutely.
It's an acknowledging that it's okay for you to think that way. I may not understand it. I may not relate to it. I love watching criminal documentaries, actually, and mainly because of that. It's me trying to tap into not understanding where they come from, but just the learning to go, wow, because they're so polar opposite to me.
Even studying narcissism, it's like, and so their behaviors aren't a surprise, when you start really studying it. It's like, okay, that's a 3-year-old child in development. Got it. That totally makes sense for a 3-year-old.
Absolutely. And it helps. I've always had an interest in understanding how humanity works. We've got a really highly evolved, complex brain that can achieve so much. And
we only use 10% of it.
And it's how we applied it. Like, that's right. Isn't that fascinating? But
it is.
It's how different environments and different experiences, different reactions, different choices that we make can determine which pathway we end up down. And and it just gives me some understanding to some point or appreciation that person will not look at the world the way I look at it, because we've had completely different experiences. And even for me as a twin, we've both had the same experiences, but we both look at the world differently.
That's so fascinating.
And I suppose it comes from that, a little bit of my experiencing of going, I've lived a life in exactly the same environment, but we both have different views of that environment, different reactions to that environment, and we both see the world very differently.
It teaches so much patience too. I studied the Bible in a way where I studied it as literature in high school even, and it was like, if somebody sinned, it's like maybe they murdered somebody or whatever. It's like, how are you doing that in your life? And it's like, what? I never killed anybody. What are you talking about? And really taking a deeper look at how you're actually doing that to somebody in your life. It was really beautiful. It really took ego out of spirituality for me. I loved it. And then you mentioned kindness. When you can hold a person in a place of respect. I mean, we are talking about respect. You can respect them, and you don't have to even agree with them, but you can respect that this is what is reality for them, fortunately or unfortunately. It's easier to be kind. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. No, it fully makes sense.
Yeah. And we can do that with ourselves, which you learned through your transformational journey as well, right?
I think it's extremely important to do it to ourselves. We're so rough on ourselves. We're our worst critic, our highest judge.
Yeah,
for sure. Most people would never treat themselves the way that they treat others, the way that they treat themselves. Exactly. When I say treat, as in what our mental thoughts are towards ourselves, how rough we are, when it's a confidence thing about who we are as a person, and it's okay to be who I am, right? It's not self-confidence as in I'm better than you or anything like that. It's just about actually I am okay the way I am, and that's all that needs to be. And learning how to be that way is really important. Yeah.
And that reflection,
and part of the coaching program helps with that.
Yeah, for sure. That the coaching is great because it gives that reflection back to the other person. Psychologists are really great at reflecting, and that just really builds people up, because they, we're so beaten down by, family, friends, world, whatever, that when we've got somebody who's actually edifying us and reflecting our positive traits back to us, that's just priceless, absolutely priceless. This has been so great, Dalice. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.